Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am collecting madness. There's always madness in love, and we love collecting. As you guys can see, today we are going to be talking about this controversial figure and whether or not it's a good idea for you to place him in your collection, especially if you do not have a Hot Toys Anakin. Now, I got mine from 1/6 kit. It came at a reasonably fast pace, considering it came all the way from China. We are going to be comparing him to the Hot Toys Anakin himself, looking at both sides of the accessories, and you guys will be able to make that decision for yourself, as well as hear some opinions that I have to say about the figure as far as quality, everything he comes with, how the body feels, the whole 9 yards. I do appreciate you guys liking, commenting, and subscribing, and if you haven't done so and you're new to the channel, please consider doing so. I do have a goal. I think I'm gonna go and try and reach for 500 subs by the end of the year. If we can do it, that would be outstanding. So if you haven't subscribed, I got a bunch more content on the way, but enough about that, and let's get this video started. Okay guys, so here we have what the box looks like. It's very different from Hot Toys. It's actually one of the better third-party boxes that I've seen. Usually they're silhouettes and not quite the image of the figure, but as you can see, they have the dark side sculpt on here because, as you guys know, you do get 2 head sculpts with this figure. They called it the Chosen One. It's Alpha, whatever that means. And then on the back, you kind of get a look of everything it comes with, including that light head sculpt. You get 2 lightsabers. Now, I am a bit confused because I know in the box, and we'll dive into it, these aren't the lightsabers you get. These look like the Hot Toys ones, and we'll talk about that more once we get this guy opened up. So the top just comes off just like that, and he's housed in a foam block. It's a soft foam block, but the figure is protected, and right on top you can see we get the Jedi robe. We will open that up. The battery pack to the lightsabers because these are powered by batteries, and then the figure himself. And just looking at that head sculpt right off the bat, you will notice that excruciating, painful, long hair, and colored sculpt. It does feel like it has some product in it, so you could do whatever you wanted with it, and I guess to get it stay, but we'll talk about him more in a little bit. So here's everything that the Chosen One comes with. It's fairly similar to what you get with the Hot Toys, with the exclusion of a few accessories such as that mechanical arm, but we will start with the Count Dooku lightsaber. Now, the first thing you'll notice, which I don't like, is that in the back of the box it showed a curved hilt. In the prototype photos it also showed a curved hilt. However, that is not the case here. It is a standard straight hilt. It's a little bit thicker than Count Dooku's as well. It is nicely painted in metallic, but the blade is not red, so if you didn't have it lit up, it would just look clear. It has a little bit of red translucent plastic there, but it is not vibrant enough, and most likely will not be using this accessory. You then, of course, get the Anakin one, and I will put these together in just a minute. You do get the blue translucent plastic here on this one, and I will give it props to Alpha that they actually painted these pretty decently. I think it could be better than Sideshow's paint on the bottom of the hilt on this one, and the peg, I don't know if it plugs into the belt, and I don't believe that these come out like the Hot Toys. I don't want to mess with it. When I find out, I will let you guys know. Moving on to the hands, you get a force gesturing kind of hand. It is actually decently painted, I will report that, and it doesn't feel waxy. It's got some ply to it, can move. And same with the fist. It's got some vein work in there, and it's painted decent. The glove feels like just a soft, plastic. It's got the texture from the ribs of the glove, and that looks like it could be a force choke hand as well, and then just a plain fist. Now the tunic I'm actually impressed with because it has a wire in the hood, but it feels like the Hot Toys tunic, and when I do the comparison, you will be able to see that it drapes nicely. There's no wire in the bottom and none in the sleeve, so it's just your basic Jedi tunic, and it's actually tailored pretty well, sewn together nicely. There's no seams. I mean, there's seams, but no major like terrible seams to where it looks ugly. And then finally you get that head sculpt. Now I think it actually looks okay. I wish there was a little bit of yellowing in the eyes. I will do something to fix this hair, and when I do, I might make a video on that. I'm going to attempt. I'm almost tempted to completely strip this because that looks terrible right there, and see if I can get a sculpt on there, like glued on, maybe modify it. But before I go that far, I will try to cut the hair first. But just judging it solely on for what it is, the paint apps look pretty decent. I like the coloring in the eye. The scar just looks like a line went across. It's not really, I guess, a scar, as you would say. It just looks like it was painted on there, but it gets the effect done. The molding is close to the Hot Toys, and again, we'll do the comparison of that. But for a third-party figure in $150, it's actually not that bad. So coming back to these lightsabers, with them lit up, you can see they have a nice little glow to them. I'll get the red one here. You can kind of see. I will get the lights off. There's some pros and cons to this. The pro is the blue one lights up way more than the red one. I still don't like that it's not a curved hilt. There is a separation here. You can see where the battery is housed, so that's a con. The pro is that it's completely rechargeable. Another pro is that it separates right here. I don't think the Hot Toys does that, where this is accurate to the film and you can see some light passing through the emitter right there as well on top of the blade. The con is that, again, this has that ugly seam line as well, but if you want this and to be able to recharge it with this pack, you just plug them in and you can fit up to 4, so you can buy some other ones if you want, and then it's USB charged. I think that's really intuitive. I'm still excited to see what Hot Toys does with their lightsabers with the LED now that you're going to be able to plug them in, so we will just have to wait and find out. But this is a nice alternative to have. However, I may be being nitpicky, and I wish that the line was, it was more, I guess, seamless. To turn it off, you pull it out, and the blade does unplug, so you will be able to hang it on his belt, and when you want to turn it on, you just push down and the light turns on, and then separate it to turn it off. So like I said, I just wanted to show you guys without the lights, and you can see, just like the Hot Toys, it gets a bit dimmer at the top, but it does glow a nice treat, especially the blue one. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the Chosen One, aka Anakin Skywalker himself. You will notice I do have a little bit of a paint defect here on my leather tabards. They are not wired, and that is probably why they sit so weird. It is a different pleather material. It is folded over just like the Hot Toys. There is a wire here in the main tunic. There is a wire here by the fist. The glove is a plastic, although it is done similar to Hot Toys, but I think it's done a little bit more poorly than Hot Toys, but it still gives a convincing effect of the gauntlet that he wears. Now, this is the light side sculpt. You can see the no red eyes. The red paint, I think, is a little bit more subtle. It's better on this sculpt than the other sculpt, to me, in my opinion. The hair is similar. It has, like I said earlier in the video, some product in it is what it feels like to me. It is a mess. I don't think I'm going to mess with this one. I'll probably just put this in the box because I really bought this before I had a Hot Toys Anakin, and then I figured I would still keep the pre-order once I had my Hot Toys Anakin and just use it as a dark side and keep the robe on him and call it a day. Now, one thing I don't like about this figure, instantly when I pulled him out the box, is the body is kind of crap. It is pretty loose. I would say more so if you had Sideshow in the past over the years. it would do this. This right out the box is already loose. If you can hear that, it's super squeaky. It's stiff, but it's squeaky. It's not ratcheted. Now, I will say the upper body is a whole lot better than the bottom half. He crunches forward and back, side to side. The arms are stiff and for some reason are on ratchets. They squeak, but he feels a whole lot stiffer, and he has a double bend. He feels a whole lot stiffer than his bottom half, and I really like that. You do have to keep tugging on the tabards a little bit because they do rise up underneath that belt. The belt is not pleather. It is a sculpted plastic that simulates or emulates leather. You probably can hook a lightsaber on there if you can unplug the blade. This, you can, I don't know if it catches it on video, but there's kind of a gluish kind of clear layer over it, which is unsightly, but again, if the robe's on them, it's not that bad. It is velcroed in the back like Hot Toys. Same for this. You can see there is a little bit of detail on the inside of there. This does not open, however. He has one layer tunic instead of a couple there. This is velcroed. Don't know why. I don't like the way that looks. I wish it was sewn together. But again, for what you're paying, this is what you're going to get. And honestly, I don't think it's worth the $150 or the $190 that somebody would pay. But I will say, if you do not have a Hot Toys Anakin, this is as close as you're going to get without buying a kit or buying an expensive sculpt. I still would honestly, and I can't believe I'm saying this, recommend this to somebody. Because it would still, from a distance, if you just had him posed up, regardless of how the body feels, he still holds. He would look fairly decent in the collection. Now, one thing I also noticed is he seems a bit taller than Anakin, but enough about chit-chatting the comparison. Let's actually get into the comparison right now. Instantly, you can see a massive difference when you compare the two. We have the Hot Toys on the left and the Alpha Chosen One on the right. The robe isn't quite as long as the Hot Toys, although that is the Qui-Gon's on the Hot Toys. So I think on the original Hot Toys, the fabric robe is a bit darker than the Chosen One here, but it probably is about the same length, and I didn't like it. I don't like the robe that comes on the Chosen One for a couple of reasons. One, it's not that long. It feels like a Hot Toys, but for Anakin, it needs to be a bit longer and needs to be a bit darker. You will also notice in the tunic section, there's not as much layering going on. The tabards lay a lot nicer on the Hot Toys one than the Chosen One over on the right. The pleather is a bit shinier on the Hot Toys one, which I like compared to the right one, and there's no wire in there to keep it in place. It kind of just does what it wants and moves all over the place. But I'm gonna go ahead and get the robes off of these two, and then you'll really see kind of the outfit difference here. But I tried to get them in a similar pose. It was very difficult to work with the Chosen One in recreating that same pose without having some of those quality things, but I still think it looks okay. And if you can get it looking right or have a different Jedi robe for your display for your Chosen One, then I would recommend going that route. So I wanted to note a couple things. Here is the Hot Toy saber you get, and when you turn it on, careful, blind you get the blue effect with a switch in the arm compared to having these battery housed. Now I did pull out the Hot Toys lightsaber, and you can instantly see it's a little bit thicker on the Alpha one compared to the Hot Toys, and the hilt actually curves like it is supposed to. You will also notice, like I said before, the red plastic. It's translucent on the Chosen One, and on the Hot Toys it is actually red. I did find out you can pull these out. However, I can see if you can plug those in, and you cannot. You can see the difference in the blades there as well. The Alpha is a bit more blue compared to the Hot Toys, which is a darker kind of blue, almost greenish effect, which I think is more accurate to the film. He had a darker blue as he went throughout the films, and who knows if that was on purpose or a mess up. It could have been his transition, going towards the dark side, that his blue color of his saber got darker as well. Also, if you want the Hot Toys Anakin, you will get this mechanical arm. This arm does not come with the Alpha Chosen One. So here we have them without their robes now. The first thing that I notice is the pants. The Hot Toys one is a little bit more burgundy compared to this one. The sculpt on the boots, this is actually a pleather on the Hot Toys compared to a sculpted plastic, which doesn't feel too bad, but it hinders articulation a lot in the feet. Next, you will notice that horrible seam line on the Chosen One, whereas on the Hot Toys it's nicely sewn and overlays and overlaps properly, as well with all the layers behind, compared to the Chosen One, which has a Velcro stitch there that really bugs me. And then of course you have the tabards, and you can see the Chosen One looks a little bit more thicker in the shoulders, but that's about it. And then the gauntlet, the paint apps on the silver is a little bit more shinier on the Chosen One than it is compared to the Hot Toys. The glove even looks a little bit thicker as well, but that could just be angle. They could be the same size. It still gets the job done. And then the tunic, actually, even in person and on camera, itself looks pretty much the same color. So I think Alpha with the Chosen One, they did a pretty good job at least trying to create a similar effect. And then the next thing I notice is the height difference. The base is a little bit shorter here on the right, and you can see they're the same height, which means the Chosen One over here is just slightly taller. And if that is something that bugs you, you know, if you have a Hot Toys Obi-Wan and whatnot, you're gonna have to figure that out in the display. Getting a side profile here, and you can really start to see where Hot Toys is really starting to win over as far as proportions go. You can see on the right one, it looks a little bit thin and it's kind of janky. The tabards are everywhere, and that hair, I mean, that's the only thing that makes this really ridiculous in my opinion. It just makes me appreciate the Hot Toys a little bit more, and I'm glad I did this comparison, at least so some of you guys out there can know what you're getting into and what you're getting your hands on, what your money's going into, and how close you can get to Hot Toys if you cannot afford the Hot Toys itself. And so far, as I've stated throughout the video, it's not a bad alternative if you don't have the Hot Toys Anakin and don't want to spend all that money. And here we have the comparison of the back of the figure, and you can see where that hair lays where it should, to where you can see the whole back portion of the figure, and then the crazy hair here, so it definitely needs to be trimmed up. They both have Velcro, and tabards always come together rather than kind of be all spaced out like they are here on the Chosen One. The boots, like I said, on the back, you can see the straps on both are pretty accurate and similar. You got pleather on the left and a sculpted kind of plastic but pliable material on the right. Not really sure what it is. And as far as pros go for the Alpha, the Chosen One, I would say you wouldn't have to deal with that strap that sometimes comes loose on the Hot Toys, because then you would have to glue it back, and it's a common issue. And as far as the thread pulls in the back of the hair as well on the sculpted one versus rooted hair, you wouldn't have that problem anymore. Getting these two closer now so you can see a real sculpt side-by-side comparison. The Hot Toys is definitely a stronger likeness to Hayden Christensen, but the Alpha sculpt isn't really a slouch either. The paint apps are still good on it, not as good as the Hot Toys, and it's really that hair that makes this one fail, in my personal opinion. At the end of the day, it will be your choice of which one you want. I strongly recommend Hot Toys, but like I said, if you don't have it and if they're not going to reissue one, then the Chosen One here is your best bet. Now, the main question I think we all had, does the Hot Toys sculpt fit on the Chosen One? And I will say it does, but not completely, not as much as you would think. It's a little bit loose. You can still turn it and stuff like that. But I think if you had the third-party sculpt or a Hot Toy sculpt, I don't know why you would put this on the body in the first place, but if you went out and got a third-party sculpt, I know there are some good ones where you have the sculpted hair, you could absolutely do so on this figure. However, if you want a dark side sculpt, you do not get that with the third-party figure. They don't make it. I wish they did, otherwise I would have grabbed it myself. But if you were curious to see if this head sculpt fit on the one, it does, and the proportions are a little off, so you would have to, get it to sit down a bit lower, but I didn't want to force it and ruin my sculpt. And yeah, it does well. Just wrapping up on the Alpha, the Chosen One 1/6 scale figure, and can I honestly recommend this to somebody for their display? I will say, I guess so, but only if you don't have the Hot Toys figure. This figure is not perfect by any means, and he has a couple flaws, but that doesn't mean that he's not a good figure, I guess, to represent Anakin in the collection. The only turnoff is that hair, let's be honest. It is ugly, and I wish that the company who did this came with sculpted hair. They had every means and could probably do so. If they were able to do the head sculpt and do all the paint apps that they did, I'm sure they could have sculpted the hair as well, and maybe given that as an alternative as a second head sculpt in the packaging instead of 2 rooted hair head sculpts. I don't care for the lightsaber. I like that it lights up in the way it does, but that is about it. The tabards could use some work. The body's a little loose, but overall, as far as looks, display wise, and everything he comes with compared to the Hot Toys, I mean, you pay for what you get, and I'm just going to leave it there. This figure was definitely interesting, and I liked seeing how it stacked against Hot Toys. It is not Hot Toys by any means, and if you're going to pick this figure up, just be cautious and know and learn what you're getting into before you purchase this figure. He will be staying in my collection. As I said, he'll be in a static pose. I'll try to fix the hair, and in the long run, I might just end up getting that dark side. That's my personal opinion. I wanted to see this for myself, but I'm leaning more towards just spending the money. That's it for today, guys. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.